My name is Marife Boix Garcia and I want to welcome you on behalf of Frankfurter Buchmesse. Children's Books on Tour is a collection of approximately 50 novelties of children's and young adult literature from about 15 German language publishers. The goal of this presentation is to showcase the latest releases, to encounter international audiences, and to create new business opportunities. We usually exhibit this collection of books as part of our participation in international book fairs around the world. This time, we invite you to watch and listen to the following video, hoping that it will be of interest to you. We thank the German Ministry of Foreign Affairs for their support and send you our warmest regards from Frankfurt.
Welcome to the Frankfurt Book Fair. My name is Gabriela Berardone. I'm here with Mariela Nagle. We are sitting in Berlin in the Mundo Azul bookshop. And today we will present to you the non-fiction books from this year's Children's Books on Tour from the Frankfurt Book Fair. I will begin with this wonderful book called Young Rebels, 25 Young People Who Are Changing the World. This is from Hansa Publishing, and this book follows the highly successful Young Rebel Girls, which many of us have heard of and love. It is a non-fiction book, and it portrays 25 children or young adults who have set their minds to fight for a good cause. There are some famous young people portrayed here, like Greta Thunberg, or even the young Louise Braille, who developed the reading system for blind people. But the rest are perhaps less well-known, but just highly impressive young kids who are fighting for a cause, be it corruption, discrimination, climate change, equality. And it acts as a moral compass. It's very inspiring. It teaches tolerance, solidarity, and ultimately will, I think, empower kids who read this to try and see if they can make a difference too. Mm-hmm. The book that follows is from Arena Publishing, and this book is called My Body is a Superhero. Now this is a lovely book which combines storytelling with facts. When you open each page, on the left is the story of a boy and how he starts not feeling well and what happens after that. And on the right is a collection of facts of what is an illness, what are viruses, bacteria, fungi. In this case, it is the flu virus. And so it follows the story of this illness, and it explains how illnesses spread, what happens to them. It demystifies certain myths. It explains why a fever could be good for you, how does a vaccine work, and it very much plays to, naturally, our current situation with this pandemic. They even managed to thread into this a case of social distancing and contact tracing, because at one point the little boy meets a friend, and then his friend tells him he's about to visit his grandmother. And this protagonist thinks about it for 2 minutes, calls his friend and says, actually, you shouldn't go and see your grandmother because I might have passed this on to you. So very much a book of our time, very useful in terms of introducing all these terms to us adults and children. I think this will be a great hit.
Yeah, and following that one, I'm also going to talk about a book that emerges from the pandemic. This one's called The Fascinating World of Viruses and Bacteria, and this one is by Löwe Publishing. It's been written by a biologist and a medical doctor. This is these two scientists decided to talk about the whole process of the pandemic. What happened, how it happened, and what happened to us in all this time, from last year until today. So from the very beginning, children will feel a mirror in all the stories that are told here. We're told about our daily lives, how they changed. It explains to us how viruses and bacteria work. Sometimes they could be good, sometimes, most of the times, they're dangerous. It explores also all these words, not only of coronaviruses, but all viruses. It's got a very didactic language. So it's not only a book like to read at home, but it's a very, very useful book for schools, for teachers. It's, as you said before, very much a book of our time. Very useful also to answer many of the questions that we ask ourselves today. And it's a kind of chronicle of what happened in the last year. The following book is a book I really like. It's a book about the environment. It's called This Is My World Too. How Can I Make It Better? It's by Belz and Gelbeck Publishing, and it's been written by Gerda Reit. Why do I like this book so much? Because it explores so many things happening right now. It encourages children to do something about climate change. It talks about all the things of our daily life, what we do that can influence the environment in a positive way. So it invites you, promotes like action, something that you can do. So she talks about the way we eat, the clothes we wear, how we travel today, and what we can do to change the world a little bit. What I like a lot about this book is that the author and illustrator appears like on almost every page herself and starts a dialogue either with herself or with someone else that jumps onto the page and contradicts her. So it's like this brainstorming between the author and someone else that talks to her. So she explained through this dialogue, she explained to children, she answers questions, she gives ideas, and at the end, it's a positive book. We could do something, we should do something. Great illustrations, she's a great illustrator. The book is good for children who are concerned about the environment because it gives optimism and helps find easy ways to help climate change.
Wonderful. Well, I have something here for younger children called the Logico Primo. And this is a great learning game for children. It's a plastic board with some learning cards that slide in and these movable colored buttons at the bottom. And depending on what each card shows, the child can choose to answer the questions by sliding these buttons into the response area, right? And so once they're done, they can turn over the slide, put it back in, and if the colors match, the answer is correct. Now, it's wonderful because this encourages independent playing. The children can play all by themselves and they can self-check. So it also promotes independence in general on the child's part. In this case, this is the Logico Primo aesthetic education version, and all the cards are presenting either works of art or visual exercises, and it sort of trains the aesthetic appreciation of the child in a way, teaching them how to read art. From Finken Publishers, and now from the same publishing company, we have something for slightly older children, I'd say around 8 and up. And this is really more of a reference guide for teachers. It's a flip-up book that covers a large array of topics, which helps teachers address these issues with their students. So it's kind of like a reference guide, but in a very handy flip-up format, which is very easy to access. And Finken also brings us this third resource. This would start at around 5 and up, and it's called Education for Sustainable Development. Nowadays, of course, everybody is talking about sustainability, what it means, climate change, the industry, and this is also more for education professionals to be able to use as a reference guide and teach children about the programs that are in place today for sustainability, and specifically UNESCO's program called Education for Sustainable Development.
Okay, thank you, very interesting. And from education, I'll go to entertainment. I'm going to present a book by Cosmos Publishing. This is actually the book version of a very successful game called Exit. I've got to say that Exit has sold millions of copies, the game. So in this particular book version called Diary 29, the story is about a group of researchers who work on a project for 28 weeks. And the 29th week, they disappear. And all that's left is this book. So the player or the players have to find out what happened. And how can they find out? Well, they can draw, they can cut out, they can write, they can find information on the internet. It's a great game. You can play for hours on end, and it's never boring. It's very good for teenagers and adults as well. And you can play alone or with a group of people. Exit is called like this because you always have to find the way out. Very successful book and game. And from the same publisher, I have another non-fiction book. It's called Nasty Lodgers. I particularly like this book because it helped me a little bit to get to know these critters a little bit better. So, as you can see, this is like, it's kind of a very helpful book because it helps us come closer to these critters that live at home, and we don't want them to be in our home. So we'll find information about cockroaches and lice and worms. The book is divided like in the rooms in the house. So we have the bedroom or the toilet where we find worms, the kitchen, like all parts of the house, all rooms in the house. And the closer you come, you get to these little insects and critters, the less you feel disgusted about them. And the more you appreciate their role in nature. So I think it helps children to investigate a little bit what these creatures do. This is also a very good book for the kindergarten because it can help teachers like answer questions and can help children to respect these little creatures at home.
Very nice. Well, from the house to the garden, I have this lovely nature guide for children, also from Cosmos. This is probably aimed at 8 and up, and it's called Children's Nature Guide, What Lives in the Garden. And this book presents about 85 species of the most common plants and animals that we are likely to find in our garden, in the woods nearby, but also maybe on our balcony. And so each page is for one specific species, and it gives important information, interesting fun facts, pictures, drawings, and it also gives tips and tricks for the children to try and discover it on their own. At the very end of the book, there's an interactive part that explains to children how they can grow their own fruits and veggies. So in general, it's extremely useful because you don't have to live in the country to be able to see these creatures. And so even if you are confined to your apartment and you have a balcony with some flowers in it, you can still use this book.
Also nice. And I'm going to present this book by Teslov Publishing. Again, a non-fiction book, but it's got the narrative of a comic. And it's a very interesting story at the same time. Well, this is Little Major Tom. And Little Major Tom lives in the space. And he's got his friend Stella and a robot cat. And they have to go to school, even in the space. But it's fun. And in this particular book, they talk about artificial intelligence. So they give us all the facts that we need to know about artificial intelligence. So for instance, how it's applied in medicine, how it's applied in our daily lives, in cars. And so we have like the adventures of these two kids and the robot cat, plus all the facts that are like very important nowadays about artificial intelligence. And then from the same publisher, we have a book on renewable energy. So again, this is one of the most successful series of non-fiction books for primary school kids. It's called Was ist was in German. So this one, in this particular one, we have all the facts that we need to know about renewable energy, but we also explore like fossil fuels and which plants are good for the new renewable energy. All the new facts as well. And everything is also explained through good photography.
Wonderful. And to finish, we have this very nice book by Tesloff as well, and it's called Why Gray Cells Can Be Pink Too. This is a very witty non-fiction book for children, which centers on the brain and how it works. And it starts with the very basic facts like the structure of the brain, where it is, the parts of it. But then it asks common questions that maybe some adults don't know the answer to either, such as, why can we smell something 3 miles away? Or why do we need sleep? Or how much sleep do we need? Or what's the hardest thing for the brain to do? I thought that was particularly interesting. What is dementia? What is Alzheimer's? And so they have original comparisons, they have sketches, and it's all very clearly explained for children, say from 10 and up to follow. But like I said, an adult will for sure learn things too with this book.
Great.
Well, this concludes our segment of nonfiction of the Children's Books on Tour from the Frankfurt Book Fair. We hope you enjoyed it. Please go to our website, german-stories.de, for further information. And thank you for listening.